And we're back. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you had a great holiday, as I did. Over the weekend, I watched the new Disney Plus series, the new MCU Disney Plus series, Hawkeye. And as you know, let's see our previous endeavors. We're just gonna go through it completely, episodes 1 and 2. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World.
Alright, so as you guys can see, if you're checking me out on YouTube or on Twitch at Super Dario World right now, my house is decked out already in Christmas stuff. Like, my sister's one of those Christmas weirdos that as soon as Thanksgiving's done, it's like, alright, Christmas time. So that's what you're seeing behind me. I know, I listen, I don't get it, but whatever. You know, people enjoy. You know, it's fun. It's fun, whatever. But before I get into it, let me just give you a quick reminder. Like I said, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me live on YouTube and on Twitch at Super Dario World. 10 a.m. It's usually when I stream live, so it's the best way for you to contact me. Also, this week, it's also going to be a funny week, or a different week. Because Friday, I'm not going to be here, so I'm not going to live stream on Friday, and probably not on Monday. I'll probably just pre-record something those days. I don't know. It depends. We'll see how it goes. Because I'm going out of town. Again. Fun. Right? Anyway, so actually, I'm going to a wedding, so I'm going out of town. So I'll probably just pre-record something. So again, live streaming this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday only. The rest of the week, I'm just going to pre-record stuff. Also, if you want to send me something privately, or if you want to check out my stories of when I'm on my trip or whatever, you can always do that on Instagram at DarioSDW and at Super Dario World. Actually, I should switch to this one. That's usually what I do. Anyway, yeah, it's the easiest way for you to contact me. But let's get started here with the little show called Hawkeye. So I want this to be very clear and get it out of the way from the very beginning. Disney has given up on making shows for adults. This show is not for adults, which is massively disappointing. And like I said, I'm going to go through the entire episode. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you my thoughts and stuff, and I'm going to tell you little by little. And this is going to be a long episode, by the way, because usually when I do this, it takes me a minute. I'll try to go quickly because it's going to be 2 episodes, but yeah, it usually takes me a minute. Anyway, Disney's given up on making shows for adults. I don't think any of the Disney Plus MCU shows are for adults. This one looked like it was going to be promising because it's Hawkeye. You know, Hawkeye, they can do a lot of stuff with him. He kind of went a little insane at the end of Endgame, but well, not at the end of Infinity War and during Endgame he went really dark. But here they just completely went 100% cartoony and stuff. Also, Otto, go Broncos, fuck you. All right, they won. I accepted it. The Chargers suck. That doesn't mean that your team is good. It means that the Chargers are bad. Anyway, we'll talk more about sports on Wednesday, like I usually do with my kid brother here joining me, because we don't know shit about the NFL anymore. And week after week, it's continued to be proven. Anyway, let's get back to the show. So, I think it's very important to point out that fact. This is not a show for adults. It's a kids show. And the jokes are meant for kids. The storyline's meant for kids. The ridiculousness of it is made for kids. A lot of things are very forced. The writing is very forced for a lot of things, and you can tell a little bit. Well, at least I can tell when I see something that I'm like, that's weird. Why would they do that? And then afterwards, they use it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's why that felt forced, because you were trying to make it a thing. Anyway, so I'm not particularly loving the show. In fact, I was very confused by a lot of the story points, but I'm going to continue watching it, and I'll give you the review if you care to, be a part of it. But whatever. Let's begin with something very important here, and this is something super important for you to remember, since this show is actually a part of the MCU. And the most important thing for you to remember is what the hell happened to Hawkeye. So where did we last see Hawkeye? And the answer to that is, we probably saw Hawkeye last in Captain America Civil War. That's when Hawkeye takes sides with Captain America, and then he gets arrested, and that's the last time we see Hawkeye. From that point on, we see Clint Barton being, the actor, the character played by Jeremy Renner, and Clint Barton usually has the code name Hawkeye, or Clint Barton is known as Hawkeye, but whatever. At this point, when we see him again when are they hiding out? I think it's after Civil War when the movie they're hiding out in the forest and and Steve Rogers just breaks a piece of wood. Anyway, is it Infinity War? I think it's an Infinity War. When we see him in Infinity War, he's not really a part of the fight. He's just Clint Barton. He's retired. It was part of his settlement that he was, you know what, I'm not going to be a part of this anymore. I'm not going to do anything. So the next time that we see him is in Endgame, and he's not Clint Barton anymore. He's not Hawkeye anymore. He's Ronin. And if you guys remember, the way that we're introduced to Ronin, he's kind of gone a little bit off the rails, and he's going around the world killing criminals. Like, not arresting them, not stopping them, killing them. He's become a cold-blooded killer. And it's because he lost his family. He kind of went off the deep end, because the only thing that was keeping him, calm and all that stuff was his family. Lost that, went up the deep end. And so that left me thinking, all right, we're going to see a Clint Barton redemption story here, right? It's going to be a two-parter, because they want to introduce the new character, Kate Bischoff, and but Jeremy Renner's still going to be a part of it, because technically everybody knows him as Hawkeye. But to me, it was, okay, this is the potential for, okay, you got a Clint Barton redemption story from, his Days of Vengeance and all that stuff, and him trying to maybe readapt to his family, readapt to society and all that stuff. And you have the Kate Bischoff introduction story, which they could coincide. It could be one or two things, but to me, it sounded like an opportunity to do some interesting creative stuff. Not so much as far as I've seen it. And you know what? I'll just go through the episodes bit by bit, and that way you will be able to judge by yourselves. So here we go. We're going to go through again. We're going to go through the whole thing. So I hope you're ready for this one. It's going to be a long one. So the series begins, and we're introduced to the girl Kate Bischoff, and her family, and we see that she's a let's say a kind of a snooper. She's from a wealthy family, and they're having financial issues at this particular time. They live in New York. I believe it's 2012, and you see that she likes snooping around at other people's conversations, and here we find out that she's kind of a daddy's girl more than a mommy's girl. After, the dad's like, he seems like a nice dude, he calms her down, whatever, because they're upset about money, pretty much. And so we see that nice little conversation. Then we see that she has a decent relationship with her mom. Her mom's just kind of upset because she's like, you know what, why am I your favorite, whatever. She's trying to be the cool mom. And as she's hanging around her room, that's when the attack from the very first Avengers movie happens. You get to see bits and pieces of the alien invasion of New York. Her apartment gets trashed. You get to see the big fight with the Avengers there. And the Chitauri's, for those of you who don't remember, the first Avengers movie is when Loki puts all the Avengers against each other, and he opens up a portal that the Chitauri can invade. That's Thanos' army, and they can invade through that portal, and it's right at Stark Tower or whatever. Turns out that she can see Stark Tower from her penthouse apartment, whatever. So the Chitauri are attacking. It's a big deal. And she gets to see Hawkeye in action for the first time. By the way, sorry that you can't see Hawkeye in that thing, but let me see if I can get him. Let me see. Nope. Can you see Hawkeye in action? Nope. Well, there you go. I think you can see him jump from there. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Point is, you get to see... Oh, there you go. That's Hawkeye. So she gets to see Hawkeye in action, and from that moment, she's like, man, that dude's cool, and he's a hero. And so you could tell basically that this whole thing, which by the way lasted 5 minutes, 5 whole fucking minutes, is basically to show, oh yeah, she's a Hawkeye fangirl, and this is the reason why, because Hawkeye technically saved her life or whatever when she was a kid. Then the mom comes over and she's like, oh, let's get out of here, and turns out the dad died. So she's very sad about the death of her father, and we know that she's a daddy's girl, and the mom's like, well, we don't know if the aliens are coming back, but I don't think they will because the heroes are here. And the daughter's like, you know what? I need a bow and arrow. Because, again, she saw Hawkeye, and she's like, Hawkeye was cool, and he looks like a badass, and I want to be a badass too. So she wants to protect her mom, her family, and she decides, I'm going to get my own bow and arrow. And from here, we get like a very quick summary of her life. We see her as an archer. We see that she learns to use the bow. She becomes good at it. She becomes a martial artist. She learns how to fence. You see her going through all these things, a gymnast, all these things. Again, all right. I mean, it's just they really jumped a whole bunch of stuff that could have been interesting there, but okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. It lets us know a few things about Kate. We know that she's a snooper. We know that she's a daddy's girl, but her daddy's dead. We know that she's good at archery. She's a gymnast. She knows how to hand-to-hand combat. And one more thing that I'm missing. Oh, and she's a fencer. All right, so fencing, by the way, for those of you who don't know, it means that she can wield a sword. So that's all we need to know about Kate. Also, that she's wealthy. She comes from a wealthy family. So that's all we need to know about Kate, right? That's the introduction to the character. Hopefully that should be enough. That should be a setup for... Also, I guess she's a Hawkeye fangirl. Anyway, moving on. So then we get to see her in college, where she's pulling a prank. Where you see that she's not really good at breaking into places. She has the required materials for a thief, because she has like a lock picking device, but she's not able to do it. But you see her, climbing a building, and apparently this is a very long scene. We're 9 minutes into the show, and basically she's trying to pull a prank. You guys, she's a rascal, and she wants to pull a prank because she wants to prove to the people at her school that she's the best archer, even though she probably she's allegedly won all the championships there. Anyway, so the prank is she puts a tennis ball to the tip of her arrow, and she's gonna hit a bell. And which she does. She shoots it. She hits a bell that's like in a bell tower, like across the courtyard. She gets the hit, but the hit's kind of disappointing. So she's like, you know what? No. Instead of hitting the bell and just being like a plunk, I'm gonna hit the rope that's underneath it, or what, I don't know what the name of the thing is. She doesn't know the name of the thing is, and that's why I don't really know. Anyway, I'm just gonna hit that, and that's gonna hit the bell, and that's it, and that'll make a lot more noise. So that's gonna be cooler, right? Again, we're 10 minutes into the show. 10 minutes. Anyway, so she does it. She does the shot, and actually it's a pretty impressive shot because it has to be done from an angle. It has to be done. It basically shows you she's good with the bow, right? If you give her enough time. She hits the thing, and the bell starts ringing. She's excited. The friends are excited, and all of a sudden the bell starts kind of collapsing, and the whole structure starts to collapse. Let me see if I get an image of it here. There's got to be an image of it. All right, so this clock tower and this bell tower, they kind of start collapsing. And a point, there you go. You can see a security guard walks up to her and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she's like, "Whoopsie." So, listen, man. I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer, but I'm pretty sure that if a bell tower collapses just because a bell in it rings, that's pretty shitty construction. I'm not gonna blame a girl with an arrow who just hit a bell and the bell rang and destroyed the whole thing. I'm gonna go where that was a safety hazard waiting to happen. So I honestly, it's beyond ridiculous. It's a ridiculous situation. Literally, ringing a bell in a bell tower collapses the bell tower. That's insane, because it's meant to do that. Bells are meant to be rung. It's meant to, and a bell tower is meant to withstand a border. So it's a completely ridiculous situation. It's stupid, but I guess it's supposed to be funny, and it shows us, I don't know, that Kate's unlucky. I don't know, maybe, probably, I don't know. Out of all the pranks that you could do with a bow or an arrow, this seems like the worst one. But okay, fine, whatever. Listen, no. In all the things that I told you about Kate, that she's a fencer, that she's a gymnast, I never said she was smart or lucky. In fact, I would say that she's kind of unlucky, but whatever. Let's move on. So that's how we're introduced to Kate, right? Well, the adult Kate now, that she's kind of a troublemaker, a rascal, and extremely unlucky. Next, we go to Broadway. This is New York City, and in Broadway, we see that there is the premiere of Rogers, the musical. For those of you who don't remember, Steve Rogers is Captain America. Well, or used to be Captain America, I guess, at this particular timeline. The point is, there's a musical based on Captain America, or specifically Steve Rogers. And who is in attendance? None other than Hawkeye and his family. Now, there you go, Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner. He's there with his kids. They're watching the musical of his friends. Specifically, the scene that they're singing here is the song's like "I Could Do This All Day." It's from the very first Avengers movie. And here you see something pretty interesting. And here's where the show does something really good. First off, Jeremy Renner is a great actor. And here, the mark of a good actor to me is always the actor who can say a lot without saying anything. And you can see that Jeremy Renner remembers what happened to Clint Barton last. Like, the dude's going through some PTSD because he's seeing Natasha there. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Natasha Romanoff is Black Widow. And for those of you who don't remember, specifically in Avengers Endgame, Natasha died right in front of Clint's eyes. Remember, they had to get the Soul Stone. And basically, they were in a race between each other to see who could kill each other, who could kill himself first, to give the other person the Infinity Stone, the Soul Stone. And Natasha ends up beating him out. She kills herself, and so Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye Ronin in that particular point, walks away with the Soul Stone. So he has that thing very clear in his mind, the sacrifice of his best friend. Remember, best friend. At least of all the friendships in the MCU so far, I think those two have been the closest that they've shown. I guess of the original Avengers, those two were the closest. And so, because their relationship went back years and years and years. So again, you could see the character of Clint Barton still kind of going through it. And it's a bittersweet thing, because imagine, you got your kids back. You're happy. It's a good situation. You got your family back. But it costs you your best friend, particularly maybe even the soul of your best friend. Who knows? It's not a fun situation for him to be on, and you can see it in his face. So again, this is great acting by Jeremy Renner, and you can see it again. So he's seeing Natasha, and it's one of those situations where the audio goes out, and here you learn, okay, apparently Clint Barton, he can't hear so good anymore. He's got a hearing device. You can't see it here; it's kind of dark, but he has like a hearing device in his ear that he turns down, and it makes sense. If you guys remember, in Endgame, he was in a building that got bombarded to hell, so it makes sense that his eardrums kind of would have gotten blown out at one point, whatever. So you can tell he's older. He's been injured. He's been going through the ringer. He's kind of like he's too old for this shit. Anyway, and again, he's going through his own form of PTSD, and he's complaining about things about the play. There's a few things that are fun, and he gets recognized by a few people. And now, this leads to one thing that I need to point out very specifically. A guy, he's in the restroom. He's using a urinal, and a guy stands right next to him. Any guy out there knows that this is a big faux pas. This is a no-no. If there's any other urinals that are open, you don't stand directly next to a person. That is them's fighting words. Well, not really fighting words, but that's problematic. Nobody likes it, or at least no normal people likes it. And guys know this. This is a guy rule. There should always be at least one stall between two people, whatever. And so a dude asks him for a selfie. Jeremy Renner's like, Clint Barton's like, dude, inappropriate, whatever. And so it shows you that he's very popular. People know him, and he doesn't like it. So again, he's going through his PTSD thing. He's out there. He's getting some air. His family comes out. You can see that the family's supportive. They care about him. They're worried about him. They can tell. And here you learn that he's just with his kids in New York City. The mom's not there. And the mom's, I forget her name, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. Not at this point. And so they're like, let's get out of here. This place sucks. Let's go out and have dinner as a family. So, they're having a nice little holiday. It's cool. Here, then we see Kate returning to New York City, and she's heading over to her mom's penthouse. She arrives at the penthouse, and here you see the mom's about to go out to a gala event or whatever, and she kind of harasses Kate for, destroying the bell tower and a clock tower, and she's upset that she has to pay for it and blah, blah, blah. And so basically she warns her, hey, yeah, I know young people think they're invincible. I know rich people think you're invincible, and you've always been both, so that worries me. And they have a heart-to-heart, basically. And she's like, all right, fine, whatever. I forgive you, but you need to put on the red dress that I left in your room. This is very specific. Put on the red dress and join me at this event. Very specifically. Put on the red dress, because this really bothered me afterwards. Anyway, so she says, yeah, again, girl, a lot of trouble. Destroyed school property. Mom has to pay for it. And she says, all right, I'll begin to forgive you if you put on the red dress I left in your room and come to the event. Anyway, here we're introduced to the mom's boyfriend. And the mom's boyfriend is actor, we're introduced to him because apparently there's a lot of swords in the apartment. And she's like, why is there so many swords in this apartment? And we're introduced to Jack. Jack is Kate's mom's boyfriend. And for those of you who don't know, I found this to be kind of fun. For those of you who don't know, this is actor Tony Dalton. He's a Mexican actor. And for those of you who are like, maybe, where do I know this guy? If you've seen the movie Matando Cabos, He's in it. He's the main character, Matando Cabos. I like the guy. He's funny. If I think he's like the 5th most recognized Mexican actor, or the biggest Mexican actor in, that internationally, I think, because the top 4 are kind of easy choices. It's got to be Eugenio Derbez, Diego Luna, Gael Garcia, Jaime Camil, and I think he's the 5th guy. If I have to pick like a number 5, I think he would be number 5. Whatever, doesn't matter. In actresses, it's Marta Gareda. That's it. That's the beginning and the end of the list. But I think he would be number 5. Whatever, doesn't matter. So it was just a fun little thing, a fun little fact, if any of you care. And so you get introduced to him, this dude who's dating the main character, well, one of the main character's moms, and who has like a cartoon villain mustache. So we can see where this is going, right? Nobody has a mustache like that and isn't, a little bit wrong in the head, at least in the film world. Because I actually know a guy who has like a big mustache like that, and he does it for fun. But let's just say in this particular arena, that has to be the bad guy, right? Like, it's a little bit too on the nose. But whatever, we don't know this at this point. We're going only strictly with the information that the MCU has given us. Let's continue. Kate doesn't like him immediately. Now, why doesn't Kate like him, or Kate doesn't trust him? Really, there's no evidence to it other than the fact that we know that she's a daddy's girl, and, well, this guy is dating her mom. So we are assuming it's just because of that. There's no evidence that points in any other direction. Anyway, let's move on. So from here, we get to see the Bartons having dinner, and the mom calls in. The mom is actress Linda Cardellini. And so you can see that they're having a good time. They're making plans. They're making Christmas plans. They're going to make gingerbread houses. They're going to do a movie marathon. They're going to do all this stuff. They're going to do all this stuff as a family. It looks like Hawkeye is, happy. He's happy. Well, it looks like Clint's happy that, he's got his family back. He's actually getting to enjoy time with his kids. Now, it's really weird that they left the wife behind, because Linda Cardellini says, like, no, you need to spend more time with the kids, whatever. But it's like, yeah, you know what? You were gone for a few years too. Like, everybody in the Barton family except for Clint got snapped. They all disappeared. So, all right, I get wanting to spend time with the kids. I think the wife would be there too. And again, this is the difficult part. Clint Barton is not the dad that they left. When they disappeared, he's not the same guy. You got 5 years of him going crazy trying to find him and going bonkers and killing a whole bunch of people. Not the same guy. So I guess you would want somebody there to be a bit of a buffer there. At least I would like my partner there, but whatever. They do things their way. The Bartons do things their way. Point is, it looks like they're having a good time. They're enjoying their Christmas or whatever, or their pre-Christmas time in New York City. Then, a server from the restaurant is like, hey, here you go. Your bill's been taken care of. You saved our city. Nothing. And here you see an interesting reaction from Clint. He's surprised that they paid for him, and he's surprised that the guy said, no, you saved our city. And the reaction normally would be like, well, yeah, I did save your city. But his face is like, I'm not a hero. Again, Jeremy Renner says a lot of things without actually saying them, and the reaction I got from him is like, but I'm not a hero. He doesn't see himself as a hero anymore. At least maybe because he's retired, or again, maybe because he went a little crazy and killed a bunch of people. It's not exactly clear which one of those two is he referring to yet. But let's continue. So then we move on to the gala event. This big high society event in New York City. It's supposed to be a charity event. They don't really explain which charity it's supposed to be, but whatever. It's in a fancy hotel. You get to see all these fancy people. And here we see Kate wearing a black suit and tie, like a tux. Now, this bugged me. Really bugged me for a lot of reasons. First off, the suit looks cool and she looks cool in it. Whatever. I've never been opposed to pretty girls wearing suits. That's fine. This is a girl who's in trouble, right? She's like a 20-something year old who's in a lot of trouble. She just destroyed a clock tower and a bell tower / clock tower. Her mom has to pay for it. So she is like neck deep in trouble. And the mom specifically said, you can begin to make this up to me by wearing the red dress in your room. Now, either the writers fucked up, either they recorded the scene and before and they didn't really know, or this one was already... Somebody fucked up here, or something else happened that I'll get into in a minute. But it really bugged me that she's wearing the black suit. Now, it could be that Kate is upset with her mom because she has a new boyfriend, and so she's like, you know what? I'm gonna rebel. I'm gonna wear I'm gonna wear what I want, and I'm not gonna wear your stupid red dress. But I reiterate, this is a girl, just got a rich girl who just got her credit cards canceled, which is kind of like a big fucking deal for somebody who's probably never had a job, or who's always been a rich girl and always had access to mommy's and daddy's credit cards. No access to money, big fucking trouble. And your first instinct, instead of being like, hey, I'll just do this little thing that she asked me to do, is like, no, fuck you. I'm gonna just spit in your face. Again, it just could be that Kate's not very smart. And again, there's no evidence in all her background. There's no evidence to say that she's a smart girl whatsoever. This just seems like a next level stupid. But whatever. All right. You know what? I've never been in that situation, so let's just say from an outsider's perspective, it was stupid. But again, there might be another reason why she's wearing that suit, and I'll get into that in a minute. So, moving on, she gets approached by this man named Armand III. Now, Armand Bourguigis, I think. And here's where the story gets a little confusing, because this dude approaches her because he thinks that she is a server. This is very specific, because the servers apparently are wearing all black as well. So she arrives at an event wearing all black, and it turns out that the servers are wearing all black, and so people are confusing her with a server, which is hijinks galore, right? It's a coincidence, whatever. And then this guy turns out to be kind of important to the story, and he gives us a bunch of interesting information. First off, it's clear that this guy doesn't like her mom, and it's clear that this guy knows that Jack knows Jack. Again, Jack would be Tony Dalton, the mom's boyfriend, and he informs her that they're engaged, and by letting her know that, like, hey, you better not wear a tux to the wedding because I don't want you looking better than me, blah blah. And she's like, whose wedding? Well, your mom and Jack's wedding. In all this conversation, maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. Maybe it's because his accent's kind of weird, but it turns out that Jack, again, the mom's boyfriend, Jack, Tony Dalton, is this guy's nephew. That is kind of a big important piece of information that I kind of missed. I don't know if I missed or was never said or whatever, but the point is they're related. And it's kind of, again, it's a big piece of information. Moving on, and so I'm giving it to you right now. They're related, but I'm not pretty sure that it was actually explained to us, but whatever. Turns out this dude's kind of an eccentric, and there's he introduced him to another, like a grandson who's Armand VII, whatever. And the point is, the main thing about this conversation, the mom's getting married to Jack. Jack's that guy's nephew, and this guy doesn't like the mom. There you go. I think that's the gist of that particular conversation. And so Kate's like, you know what? This is Armand VII, by the way. This is how we know that there's so many freaking Armands. And she's like, you know what? I'm gonna go talk to my mom. And so she just goes straight up to him. Now, the mom was having a conversation with two other people, and when Kate walks up, the other two people just kind of disappear from the conversation. It's weird. I don't like it when they do that in movies. They should at least show a reaction of the family of the other two being like, "Whoa, this girl's got issues," or like, rude, or "Hi, hey, how's it going?" All right. I mean, I guess they didn't have time for it. Whatever. It could have. Now you see, now that could have actually been funny, but whatever. Doesn't matter. So Kate, confronts her about it, and here's another thing: the mom doesn't say anything about the red dress. I know. Is it stupid that I care about the red dress? Maybe. But I care about the red dress because she specifically said, wear the red dress. Now, if I'm the mom of a kid who just destroyed a fucking bell tower, almost got kicked out of school, and also destroyed a clock tower, and I have to pay for it, so she should be, like, coming at me with her tail between her legs, I would have been like, hey, where's the red dress? Like, like, maybe passive-aggressively, or like, did something happen to the red dress? What happened? Why aren't you wearing the red dress? I would very specifically point it out, because this is a massive spit in her face. She specifically asked for one thing, and she got ignored. But whatever. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the crazy person. Doesn't matter. The mom, Vera Farmiga, I forget her name. I know the actress is Vera Farmiga, but I forget the mom's name. So the mom's like, oh yeah, well, we're getting married. And so it's one of those things that, well, things happen. Sorry we didn't tell you. And basically she says, kind of get over it. We'll talk about this later. And Jack disappears because he has a previous engagement, right? So from there, they kind of make their peace or whatever and never mention the red dress. And Kate walks outside because she needs to get some air. When she's outside, she sees a dog. This is another one of those things where I'm like, why? Why is there a dog? And it's a very recognizable dog. I guess you can see him in the poster. He'll show up again. You can see the back of his head here. It's a golden retriever. It's a very dirty golden retriever, and he only has one eye. One. So it's a very recognizable dog in New York City. And she's just out there looking at it for reasons, I guess. And she starts talking to the dog. And to me, it seemed like a very odd moment, to tell you. It seemed kind of out of place. It did not seem organic, but whatever. Apparently, there's going to be a reason behind this, guys. Again, this show's not forced at all. Moving on. She goes back into the building, and when she goes into this is the biggest hotel. She finds kind of like an office, and Armand is yelling at her mom, and he's like, oh, whatever. The conversation is not very clear. I didn't have subtitles on, but it seems like Armand is upset at the mom. They don't like each other. And so when the mom's walking out, Kate's like, hey, did that guy threaten you? Also, I need to point this out because I forgot to mention it. Well, no, I did mention it. Armand did not know who she was. So this guy who did not know who she was is apparently very involved with their family, but they did not remember each other. Whatever, doesn't matter. So the mom's like, I don't know, Armand's crazy. He just started yelling at me or whatever. And so Kate's like, hey man, fuck that guy. I need to go see what he's up to. Because again, she's a snooper. Now this has been established. Kate is a snooper. Whatever. It was established the very first moment that we met her. So she starts sneaking around behind the building, following him around. She's going around the kitchen, all that stuff, and she notices that there's a security guard in an area behind the kitchen. So there's like the secret room. So she's like, hey, I'm dressed as a server, so I'm gonna grab this plate of stuff and I'm gonna walk back in there pretending to be a server. And here's the moment that we realized, aha, that's why she's wearing a fucking black suit. Right? This is the moment, and you could tell that somebody fucked up at one point, because she should have been wearing a red dress, and then somebody realized, hey, how the fuck are we going to get her into the back room? How are we going to do it? If she's wearing a red dress, people are going to confuse her with something. Can we make our servers wear red dresses? No, it doesn't make any sense. No, let's make Kate wear the exact same thing servers were wearing, and coincidentally, she will be able to walk into the back room where there's supposedly a security guard, but she's looking like a server. Again, forced, extremely forced. And you know what you call this? Very bad fucking writing. Because it's not her plan. It's not something that she adapted on the fly. It's just kind of, well, I guess she did adapt it on the fly, but she was already wearing the fucking costume of a server. It's stupid. It's bad writing. But that's a pet peeve for me. Let's move on. So she walks into the back room and she starts seeing, it's this very secretive wine cellar, and it's an auction. She finds this very weird auction. Now, I don't think there's anything weird about, being a charity event with rich people having a secret auction. Okay, it's honestly, I would say it's even expected, because, rich people do shady shit, and, it's yeah, whatever. It's a charity event, so you know where that goes. So it's one of those things that I wouldn't think of as that particularly weird, but Kate thinks this is super interesting, and she decides to stay there and check it out. Then she gets to see Armand being joined by Jack. And again, I don't think that it's ever mentioned that they're related, but it kind of is implied in their conversation, because there's a bidding war that starts going on between these two, and Armand is like, you don't have that kind of money. And Jack's like, well, I'm going to inherit it one day. I mean, you assume that they're related to that. Actually, that's the first inkling that I got that they're related. I don't know if it was mentioned before, but whatever, doesn't matter. There's an auction, and in this auction, they auction off a Triceratops head, which I thought was really cool. Kate starts getting in a little bit of trouble with another server, and she lies her way out of it. She bluffs her way out of it, which was really, it was well done. It was thinking on her feet. And as the auction goes on, another guy comes in, and he's like, hey, no, I'm actually a supervisor here. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And so Kate's like, oh shit, I gotta run. So she starts trying to sneak away without causing a scene. Let's see. Is there no images here of the auction? Okay. here's the auction. There's an auction item where Armand and Jack get in a bidding war for, and that is a sword. I guess you can barely see it. It's a really recognizable sword because this is the sword that Jeremy Renner used in Endgame. This is the sword of Ronin, right? And the thing that's particularly special about this sword is for some reason it collapses like a switchblade, except it makes no fucking sense because the blade's way too big. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen them try to do with a katana, but whatever. Again, doesn't matter. Let's say, you know what? It's a nanotech blade. It's a nanotech blade, which where the fuck did Ronin get this? I don't know. He probably stole it from Stark Technologies. I don't know. It's stupid. Is it beyond stupid? Yes. But they needed to find a way to make a sword easy to hide. And again, this is not from the TV show. This is not from the movies. We actually see Ronin like put the sword away. We actually see it in its full size. But whatever. Doesn't matter. And so they get in a bidding war, and Armand ends up winning. And after he wins, again, it's been established that Jack likes swords. So he's trying to get it, but in the end, you know, Armand has more money, and he ends up winning. And then they're gonna auction off another item, and I guess there's not an image of it here. They're trying to auction off the suit of Ronin, you know, the actual suit, the costume. And here we learn a few things. We learn that Ronin has been MIA for a really long time, that nobody knows who he was because he always wore a mask, and they somehow, from the debris of the Avengers facility, that's where they found it. Now, there's a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense here. A lot of them. Now, I can understand them recovering the sword from the debris. I can understand it. I can understand Jeremy Renner leaving this sword behind. Totally could see it. You know, it's your family just got back. You just saved the world. Your friend just died, Tony Stark, and Tasha just died. You can be like, oh, fuck it, I don't need the sword anymore. You leave it. But the costume, he was literally wearing it. So I don't see how they can recover a costume from the debris if he was literally wearing the costume. It makes no sense. Now, I've been trying to rack my brain because I guess I could have just seen the movie again, but I didn't want to. If Jeremy is fighting with normal clothes, like civilian clothes at the end, I don't think so. I think he's actually wearing the costume when he's being hunted, you know, in the sewer things, when he's running away with the Infinity Gauntlet. I think he's actually wearing the costume when he fights, who is it? What's her name? It's the robot sister. What's her freaking name? It's not Gamora. It's what's her name? Anyway, I know it's a celestial thing. Whatever, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Point is, he was wearing the costume, and they found it, and they're auctioning it off. It seems kind of forced, but it's possible that after the fight, he just stripped down and threw the costume away, and is like, I don't need this anymore, or he just threw it away somewhere. He just puts on civilian clothes. He's like, I'm done with this, and he left it. It seems kind of ridiculous to me because what else would he put on? But all right. I'm okay, fine. I'll give it to you. It's stupid. I'll give it to you. Then during the middle of the auction, somebody blows their way into this particular room. So they just blow the back wall, and they come in and they're stealing shit. Now during the confusion, you see this blade here. It's stolen by none other than our boy Jack. So Jack steals the blade and gets the fuck out of there, while there's a bunch of criminals coming in here in what is maybe the slowest heist I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, you see just a group of dudes, criminals, you know, they blew up the door, and they're kind of just sauntering in there, and they're looking through things, and they're doing it very slowly, and you're just like, you guys suck as criminals. Like, if you're gonna do a heist, you want to go like fast, boom, 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 hit it. Before, you know, everybody in there is kind of confused. They're concussed. There was just an explosion. You got to be confused. Ugh. But you waited long enough that somebody could actually steal like something from you. It's very stupidly done, but again, let me see if I can guess. They needed to find an excuse why Kate could have recovered and had enough time to put on the Ronin, because she stole the Ronin costume, and she put on the Ronin costume and started fighting them. If I have to guess, you know, because this show's not forced at all. So if I had to guess, whatever, I think that's the reason why the criminals were so slow. Whatever. So again, you know, you got the criminals walking around, they're stealing stuff. And you see one in particular who has this dude with a red mask is like the leader. He's the only guy who says, hey, we need to get the watch. What watch is not exactly clear. We find out later on. And so Kate finds the Ronin costume. She puts it on and she starts, you know, getting into fights. And you see this dude out there in a truck. So you see one of the criminals out there in a truck, just kind of like very calmly, very slowly putting stuff away. You just blew up a high stakes. You just made an explosion in the middle of New York City with all the richest people, probably all the richest people in the city. And this is supposed to be kind of like, a secret event. So I'm assuming there's a lot of criminals in there. And so they're very calmly doing it. Like, okay, all right. Let's just say it seems a little bit stupid to me, but whatever. Listen, I'm not a criminal. I don't know. Maybe it's a prerequisite. Let's move on. So they're very calmly doing all this stuff. They're trying to steal things from people. They're just looking around for things. And Kate, that's when she starts getting into a fight with people. She puts on the Ronin costume and she starts getting, kicking people's asses. She gets into a fight. She's okay at fighting. Again, we know that she has a certain bit of skill. The choreography is not fantastic, but whatever. It's fine. Let's just say it's fine. It's acceptable for a girl who's probably never been in a street fighter in her life. She ends up winning in a way. She ends up getting away. At least they follow the main rule, because she did fight against the dude in the red mask, and the dude in the red mask did win. So again, at least the first fight against the antagonist, it's got to be clear that it has to be a decisive L for the main character here. So at least that's something. Anyway, so she runs away, and she runs into this dude who was very calmly, with headphones on, putting stuff in the truck. Again, worst criminals ever. And she gets saved by, the dude finds that they found the watch that they were looking for. And it's apparently a watch that they discovered in the Avengers compound. Again, all right, whose watch is it? I don't know. We'll figure it out eventually, but this is apparently a very important watch. And I'm going to reiterate this. Watch that was found in the Avengers compound apparently has something to do in this story. So we'll see if it pops up later on. I'm assuming it will. So the bad guys have it, and as she's trying to run away, she ends up, knocking into this dude, and she gets helped by none other than a one-eyed golden retriever. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Nah, it can't be the same dog. It can't be that one-eyed golden retriever that she saw outside for a second. It can't be that. It's that same fucking dog. So again, this show's not forced at all. So let's just reiterate here very quickly. She walked out. She was stressed after the conversation with her mom. She walked out of the building and she saw a dog in the street. It's a very recognizable dog because it's a golden retriever without one eye. I think that's the only one-eyed golden retriever I've seen in my entire life. So she sees it. She says, "Hey, dog," and she walks inside. That's her only interaction with the dog. Then, as she's running away, she bumps into one of the worst criminals ever, who's wearing headphones while she's in the middle of a heist. That dude kind of tries to stop her for reasons, I don't know. I think he should be protecting the cargo more than anything else. They start getting into a fight, and then the dog comes in out of nowhere, attacks the guy, and it helps her get away from the guy. Not forced at all, right, guys? Not forced at all. So now things are starting to make sense. Now we know why she saw this random dog. Why they gave so much importance to this random dog outside. Why did the dog decide to help her? Who the fuck knows? It's a dog. Why was the dog still there? Why was the dog back there? How does he recognize her? She's wearing a different thing, so she looks different. Maybe she still smells the same. She's wearing leather. I'm guessing an explosion just happened. She should smell like smoke. She should smell like the wine that just spilled on her. Who the fuck knows? But again, this show's not forced at all. So let's continue. She runs away, and as she's running away, the dog's stupid, and he runs into traffic, specifically into traffic, and so she jumps through a few cars and ends up saving the dog. There's got to be an image of her saving the dog. Okay, so she runs into a dog. This is a street dog, all right? He doesn't look like a house dog. It looks like a street dog because, again, he's dirty and all that stuff. Runs straight into traffic. Street dogs don't tend to do that generally, but all right, he runs straight into traffic. By the way, cars moving fast in New York City, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that cars actually drove. I thought it's like bumper to bumper stuff, but whatever. She risks her life to save this dog, and so they capture that on camera, and everybody sees her, but she's wearing the Ronin costume. She's like, whatever, and so he runs away. But everybody, now all the criminals and stuff, they're like, hey, that's Ronin. And so, yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. So then we get to see Clint Barton and his family, and he's like, all right, we got to pack. Everybody, we're going back to home to see mom. And they turn on the TV, they're watching the news, and he sees in the news somebody wearing the Ronin costume. And so Jeremy Renner's like, fuck, All right, that's not good. Because the last Ronin was me, and I'm pretty sure I'm not out there. So somebody's out there using my costume. So I probably gotta intervene here. So here's we get a little flashback of him as Ronin. For those of you who didn't know, Jeremy Renner, Clint Barton, he was Ronin, and so let's just say did a whole bunch of stuff. And this is very important. Like this image right here. You see this guy here. You see this guy here. You see this guy here. Dead. 1, 2, 3 dead guys. And that's why he takes off the mask, because he's like, all these guys are dead, so it doesn't really matter if they see my face, because they're dead. The point here being, Ronin kills people. All right, I need that to be super clear. Let's move on. So he sees that and he's like, fuck, I gotta do something here. Kate then goes home for some reason, and still wearing the costume, still wearing the mask, and she leaves her dog at home in her apartment. Now, call me crazy. Oh, you know what? It's not crazy. It's the mom did say, go get the red dress in your room. I assumed that she lived in the penthouse apartment with her mom. It turns out, no, she lives in a separate place. Now, this is not a big deal. Rich people have a lot of places, so it doesn't matter. The point is, she leaves her dog at home, gives the dog pizza, and then she goes out again because she's like, what the fuck was Armand doing? Why was he in this secret auction with all this stuff? I gotta go figure out what he's up to, right? She was just in a situation in like a major heist, like an explosion, and she's worried about what Armand is doing. I would not have thought about Armand for the rest of my fucking life. Maybe it's like, hey, did that guy die in the explosion or something? But no, she's very, very concerned about Armand. And so she goes out to, I don't know, break into Armand's house for some reason. Armand the Third, again, a guy she didn't know a few hours ago. And she's like, oh, well, that guy yelled at my mom, so I gotta go check him out because he was at a shady auction. And okay, so the shady auction got robbed, so I got all right. Again, this show's not forced at all, but whatever. Then we see her, break into Armand's house, and as she's exploring Armand's house, she's looking around, and she discovers something that's a candy, butterscotch candy. Now, this is very important candy because the candy has Armand's name on it. Like somebody, like they put a sticker. Like imagine you have butterscotch candy, like it's wrapped up. It's in like an aluminum foil kind of. It's like aluminum cuttered. I need some water. Oh god, I've been talking a lot. Yeah. So they have this like aluminum foil thing, a butterscotch candy, and they put a sticker with, I think it's called monogrammed candy, whatever. So it's a sticker with it says Armand the Third, and they put a lot of attention to this particular butterscotch for some reason. I was like, all right, okay, that's an interesting, quirky thing, I guess. Rich people have quirky things, or maybe it was like a gift or whatever. Doesn't matter. It didn't seem that weird to me, but they paid a lot of attention to this butterscotch candy. Don't worry, guys. It's there for a reason, and it's not forced at all. Anyway, moving on. So she's exploring around the house, and she ends up finding Armand dead on the ground. Somebody stabbed him, probably with a sword. And so Armand's in the ground. He's dead, and she's like, oh, shit, I gotta get out of here. So she sneaks out of there, and while she's running away, again, this is New York City, middle of the night, just running around in the middle, like randomly at home. She's randomly trying to go home, and all of a sudden, she runs right into a trap, like straight into a trap. Now, how did these guys know that she was going in that particular direction? Maybe they got lucky. But no, they say very specifically, we got eyes all over this town. Do you? It's a big town. It's got like millions of people, and you got eyes all over it. All right, you know what? Maybe you do. And here we learn something very interesting. So these guys are there for payback against Ronin, because Ronin is like, hey, man, Ronin, again, he kind of messed with the criminal underworld. He killed a lot of people. And so they're like, hey, man, fuck you. We're going to get that guy. I want you to see something very important. None of these dudes like are wearing, like have guns. Like none of them. If you're going up against the guy who killed a whole bunch of your criminal friends, I would have a gun. I mean, I'm a criminal. So I would just have a gun. In this particular situation, none of them do. They're just like, we're going to beat the shit out of you. Also, correct me if I'm wrong. Ronin has a rep for killing people. So if Ronin messed with your criminal organization, he killed you. All right, he probably should have killed you, but no. Apparently, all these dudes are there, and they're like, payback. I'm assuming they're gonna explain this at some point, why Ronin didn't kill him, or maybe he thought they were small time. I don't know. The point is, very stupid, and I would not go chasing after the Ronin. Also, if I met Ronin before, I could tell that that's not Ronin. I mean, Jeremy Renner is not the world's biggest guy, but you can tell a difference between a male's body and a female's body very easily. Also, the fact that he hasn't kicked your ass, or that he's running, or that you could even follow him, doesn't matter. Point is, these dudes went after somebody in a costume, or just because they're wearing a costume, whatever. Next, so she's getting her ass kicked, and by the way, this actor, I forget his name, Rocco something, but I actually know him. He was in the TV show Van Helsing. I got to interview him. Nice guy, gigantic human being. In fact, you know what? Let me see if I can find a picture of where I met him, because I have it on my Instagram. I met him along with Cylon 7, two gigantic human beings, and I'm not like a short person, but between the two of them, I look like a child. And I think somebody even commented that like, hey, I look like Peter Parker and his aunt and uncle in that picture. So there you go. I found it. Here you go. So there you go. See, it's this guy. I forget his name. Christopher Heyerdahl. Again, tall human being. And so he's just fun fact. I don't know if you guys care. I care. Whatever. So he's in the show, and they're kicking her ass, which is, again, is fair. The bad guys have to kick the ass. But here's the problem. The bad guys are clowns. They're clowns. They're complete and total. They're just saying, bro, what's up, bro? You get it, bro. They're clowns. They're clowns, you know, who with tattoos, but they're clowns. So again, this show, not for adults, not meant for adults. It's meant for kids, bro. It's meant for kids, bro. Because good criminals actually would show up there with guns and we just would have blasted her. Because fuck her. We're not gonna risk it. We're not gonna risk it with Ronin. Are you kidding me? I'm not gonna risk it with Ronin, bro. This is crazy. This is madness. He's killed like our entire organization. We're lucky to be. In fact, we should probably just lay low because Ronin's fucking crazy. These guys are gonna fucking kill us, bro. Can't risk it, bro. But no, these guys are clowns, bro. And they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's go out there and just kick his ass. Let's punch him with our fists. Because, we're crazy, bro. We're manly. We're going to beat him up, bro. Again, not forced at all. But whatever. Moving on. So she runs into a car that was left open in New York City. Now, listen, I've never been to New York City and hung out in the streets. But I hear the crime's kind of high. So somebody leaving their car door open is a dumbass. But whatever, maybe, again, well, listen, if we know anything about Kate's luck, she's not lucky. So this is actually kind of like a bad thing, plot-wise. Because you've established that she's unlucky. She's so unlucky that in the middle of a fucking snowstorm in New York City, a group of dumbass criminal clowns managed to find her and set a trap. But a car's left it open. Anyway, whatever. So she goes into this car, and they can't break the windows. And here's the moment where I'm like, you know what would be really useful here? A gun. You just get her in the car, but whatever. While she's hiding there, all of a sudden somebody shows up and starts kicking the asses of the dudes who are there. After he kicks the asses of the dudes who are there, the bros cleanly just shows up and kicks up the bro's ass. Takes Kate, takes her to an alleyway, takes off the mask, and then he's like, "Holy shit, it's a girl!" And Kate's like, "Holy shit, you're Hawkeye!" And that's where the episode ends. So. That's the end of episode 1. That's how we leave. That's how we leave the two. That's where they're seeing each other face to face for the first time. And Jeremy Renner at that point is like, fuck, I gotta deal with this shit. Now, why does he have to deal with this shit? I don't particularly understand. Sincerely, I don't know why or what he has to do with this costume. Now, I guess maybe he feels, you know what, I'll save it, because we're going into episode 2 now. Now, this is episode 2. We begin, with the breaking news. Ronin, he's been spotted again. Now, who the fuck cared about Ronin before? I don't know. Like, honestly, Clint Barton is supposed to be like a Black Ops guy. He's supposed to be so good that nobody should have been able to spot him when he was doing all this stuff. But all right, I guess, people fuck up, and somebody knew him. Whatever, doesn't matter. So we begin in that particular situation, exactly where we left them off. Jeremy Renner realizing that he's dealing with a girl, and Kate Bischoff realizing, like, holy shit, I'm face to face with Hawkeye, her hero. And so he's like, all right, well, I gotta stash you somewhere. And so they're going to her apartment, and it turns out that she lives like right next to a pizzeria, And here we kind of get an interesting bits of conversation because Kate Bishop starts noticing a few things from Clint Barton. Clint Barton's always like assessing the situation. He's always aware. He's hyper aware. And Kate's like, oh man, is that because of this? So interesting things to highlight. But overall, Clint's like, I just want to get the fuck out of here and get back with my family. Whoops. All right. So Kate also mentions that people have called her. Oh, there's a line here. I remember. I just remembered. It just hit me. There's a line here where Hawkeye said, well, Clint Barton tells Kate Bishop, hey, yeah, there were some nice moves you had back there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Kate Bishop got her ass kicked. There's no other way to look at it. She got her ass handed to her. I don't think she landed like more than a punch. So I wouldn't exactly compliment her on her fighting skills after she got whooped and was almost killed. And the only reason she's alive is because you were there. So I thought that line was really weird and stupid and unnecessary, but whatever. And then Kate Bishop has the balls to tell Hawkeye, again, Hawkeye, the Hawkeye, known as probably the greatest marksman in the MCU, or among them. Let's say maybe the Bullseye's in there. Let's see. But maybe the greatest hero marksman in the MCU. Well, you're not in the MCU. Yes, definitely. Maybe in the whole Marvel universe, not. But in the MCU specifically. She has the balls to say like, oh yeah, some people call me the world's greatest archer. How Clint Barton did not start laughing his ass off there is insane to me. But what? All right, okay, it's beyond me. But whatever. They arrive at her apartment. Turns out she lives right next to a pizza place. And there, the dog, who was I don't know why she took the dog home. She took the dog home. Maybe it's because the dog saved her life and she saved the dog afterwards. The point is, she's not calling it her dog, but the dog started trashing her place. And so they're having this conversation, and Clint Barton basically is like, hey, just give me the suit. I want to get out of here. Because he's there for the suit. Why is he there for the suit? Again, I don't see how having a suit is important. Anybody can make a suit. You heard of cosplay? People make some pretty good suits, but he really wants that suit back. He doesn't even know if it's the real one. But he wants the suit back. I don't know. Maybe it's like to bury it or whatever. It doesn't matter. So, I guess you can't remake the same suit or whatever. It doesn't matter. So Kate Bishop leaves, and Jeremy Renner's kind of like hanging out, seeing things. And so Kate comes back down, and she's like, hey, could you autograph my bow? Because honestly, Kate's a likable chick. She's likable. She's quirky and kind of stupid, but she has balls sometimes. And if I ever got a situation where I met my hero, I would ask them to autograph my bow. I would definitely, you shoot your shot, you gotta take it. And she kind of wants to milk it a little bit more. She wants to learn a few tricks or whatever. But Jeremy Renner's like, no, just give me the stuff and I'm gonna leave. In the middle of that, they're having a conversation, and Jeremy Renner basically realizes, like, yeah, they discovered where you live. How did he come to that conclusion? Well, because she went back to her apartment to leave the dog while wearing the costume. And here, again, not forced at all. Now we understand the importance of the dog. She had to go back home to leave the dog at home. That way, the bad guys could follow her home. It's all coming together, guys. It's all starting to make sense. It's not forced at all. Not at all whatsoever. Because, it doesn't make like a lot of sense of why she would go home wearing the costume. I guess, it does make a little bit of sense because, because, you want to go home after, you got your ass whooped. But it doesn't make a lot of sense why she would go home and then leaving a trail for somebody to find her there. No, she would just go straight to Armand's house. That would make sense, but no. It's, again, this show's extremely forced. They need to find a reason why she would go home and then go to Armand's and then meet Hawkeye and then go home and then the bros would tail her there. Now, it doesn't make sense why the bros would follow her to Armand's house after they figured out where she lives. You would think they would just stake out her house. But nah, that would be too easy. That would be too clever. It's also not exactly clear how the hell Hawkeye found her. Because again, it's a big ass city. And I don't know, maybe he keeps tabs on criminals? Maybe he has... You know what? I'm going to go with the good old connections. Clint Barton's got connections. And so he was able to find her in New York City in the middle of a snowstorm very easily in the middle of a ambush from bad guys. Yeah. Again, not forced at all, but whatever. Then so they get attacked by these dudes who just throw a bunch of Molotov cocktails into her apartment. Again, no guns. Weird, right? So they're throwing the Molotov cocktails. They're having the middle of a Molotov cocktail fight. And Kate Bishop and Jeremy Renner are like, all right, let's get out of here. Now, Jeremy Renner wanted to just take a few steps, pick up the Ronin costume and leave, but he decided against it. He decided to get out of there and come back for the costume later. Now, why would you want to come back to the costume later if it's in an apartment that's set on fire? I don't know. I mean, I would assume it got burned up, right? But listen, this show's not forced at all. But whatever, let's move on. So they got out of the building. They saved the dog. You know, it's maybe, you know, it's because the sprinklers went off. It could be because the sprinklers went off. Let's give him the benefit of the doubts and say the sprinklers went off. Again, why doesn't he just take 2 seconds to grab the fucking suit? I don't know. I guess they need to find a reason to bring him back there. But whatever. He gets out of there. Well, the Brodus, who just got their asses kicked by Ronin, again show up with no guns. And so they leave to the subway, and then they go get supplies, and basically it's medical supplies. And so they have this, again, interesting back and forth rapport. And Jeremy Renner ends up buying a whole bunch of stuff to heal her up, and they're trying to find a place where he can stash her.
Wait, what a bag of money.
Oops. And so Kate suggests going to her aunt's place, where her aunt is currently in Florida for the winter. So they break into her apartment. You get to see how Kate breaks into things, how's her way of doing, breaking into stuff. She goes into the aunt's apartment, and Jeremy Renner basically says, stay here, clean up your wounds, I'll be back. And Kate's like, how are you going to get into my apartment building? And stuff like that. And Clint's like, I got it. I'm a pro. So you get to see the way that he gets into the building. And the way that he gets into a building is that he sneaks into firefighters. What's the truck, the fire truck, puts on like a jacket and a helmet, and he sneaks in, which is actually pretty clever. Honestly, I like this scene. It's like, all right, this is how like a spy would do it, you know, very sneakily, put in the gear, walk on. It looks like, if you look like you know what you're doing, nobody's going to stop you, and that's the rule that Hawkeye follows here. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm supposed to be here. Nobody's going to think this is weird. He goes in, he looks around the apartment, basically, sees nothing. Costume's missing, guys. It's not there. It wasn't burned. Because, again, the sprinklers were off, but the costume's not there anymore. You know, the place where they just were, that they just left, and he just came back to, something's missing, guys. Like, the one thing, damn it. The one thing that he needed, the one thing that he wanted, it's not there anymore. God fucking damn it. I hate it when that happens. And so, as he's leaving, he's like, oh, man, what can I do? He sees a sticker. And the sticker on the fire truck says NYC LARPing. Now, for those of you who don't know what LARPing is, it's live action role playing. It's basically a bunch of grown-ups who dress up in whatever they want, like, let's say, I don't know, medieval costumes, and they go and they live action role play. Now, there's role-playing games, you know, that you play with dice, Dungeons and Dragons, you play in your imagination. Here, no. You actually wear the costume and you go out there and you kick ass and stuff like that. So, he sees that sticker, very coincidentally, in the window of the fire truck that he just closed. So here's the sequence of events, just so that you follow along with me, and just so that you can see that this show is not forced at all. They arrive at her apartment. I already established why it's ridiculous that she went to her apartment and how they ended up finding her there, but whatever. She's at her apartment. She takes off the suit. Instead of grabbing it and putting it in his bag, they put it in a chair. Then Molotov cocktails start flying, and they decide, we gotta get out of here because this place is on fire. And instead of grabbing the suit and leaving, he's like, oh, well, I'll just leave it there and come back. Instead of taking 2-3 seconds to get it, I'll just leave it there and come back. So he leaves, leaving the one thing that he's not there for Kate. He doesn't give a fuck about Kate. He cares about the suit. So they leave. He manages to go buy a whole bunch of supplies. Let's say like medical, like let's say alcohol, Neosporin, I don't know, Q-tips or whatever. Stashes her somewhere, and then comes back. When he comes back, cops and firefighters are there. Why? Because the building was on fire. So it makes perfect sense for them to be there. He puts on the clothes of a firefighter, goes in there, and suit's missing. As he leaves, he notices in the fire truck that the firefighters are fucking LARPers. Now, what are the odds? This is, mathematically speaking, what are the odds of you leaving your suit, like your very kick-ass suit, and it being stolen by a firefighter? You leaving anything in your house that was on fire and it being stolen by fire? You would think that'd be firefighter 101. Don't steal shit from people's burning houses. But no, I guess no. These firefighters are pieces of shit. Real pieces of shit, bro. They just, they go into places that were set on fire and it's like a yard sale. Yeah, I saw a suit. I'm taking it. Now, how did he recognize it was a kick-ass suit? Who the fuck knows? Because it's just a big leather thing in a room that was on fire. But some piece of shit firefighter walked in, noticed a soaking wet piece of leather, and he's like, this is a kick-ass costume for my live action role playing. I'm stealing it. Okay. Fine. Whatever. This show's not forced at all. Let's continue. And so Clint Barton's like, all right, I got a lead. And he gets the fuck out of there. Then he reaches where Kate is. And he's like, all right, let me just, he's trying to clean up his wounds, which I never even saw him get hit. But let's say maybe glass hit him or something. And so he realizes like, yeah, you fucked up with your cleaning your wound there. He helps her out. And so he's like, all right, well, I'm leaving. So I'll be back tomorrow. Here, Kate reiterates, I would get you a hotel room, but my mom canceled my credit cards. This is very important. Again, she's broke. She's got nowhere to go. The bro bad guys, the clown bad guys, know where she lives. They know her name because she has her name outside of her. This is actually very important. They know her by name because her apartment building outside the buzzer had her name on it, which I think it's a big no-no, but whatever. The point is, she's kind of like in a bad situation. And here we find out that her mom has a security company. I don't remember that being mentioned at all before, but whatever. So Clint Barton starts going through like the Instagram of the NYC LARPing community, and he sees the dude posting a video wearing the Ronin costume. Now this is probably an hour, maybe two after the event that just happened, like after the building was set on fire. Call me crazy. Again, maybe I'm too picky. Maybe he's in a room with really good lighting, but this looks like natural light to me. This looks like natural light. So it's nighttime where Hawkeye is. It's still dark. It's still the same night, but this guy looks like he's in natural. But it could be he's got really good lighting. I could be wrong. But this guy just stole this fucking costume. It should be soaking wet, but no. He dried it off, put it on, and put a video on the NYC LARPing page. Now, this could be the dumbest criminal fucking behavior I've ever seen in my life, but we did just see a bunch of dudes who were basically, who blew up a building and were just, sauntering along, stealing shit. Maybe this is the dumb criminal show. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. But he's like, yeah, for those of you who are saying that I don't have a new costume, like, check it out. Boom. All right. Okay. I mean, you just stole that and you're broadcasting it. You're a firefighter. All right. Whatever. And apparently this is like a cop community. So he's just broadcasting that he stole shit. Okay. Moving on. So he sees that and Clint's like, all right, well, I know where I got to go. So next morning, he puts his kids in a car, puts them in the airport, and he's like, all right, kids, you're going home. I got stuff to do. And the kid's like, you promised you'd be home for Christmas. And now we have like a timeline. Now we know that Clint has to be home for Christmas because otherwise he's going to let down his kids. And he hasn't seen his kids in 5 years. Now, you would think that if you haven't seen your kids in 5 years and you thought they were dead and then you kind of went a little bit crazy, you're like, all right, no, fuck that suit. The suit doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter anymore that I'm not wearing the suit, right? It doesn't really matter. It's just a suit. It's just a piece of leather. Anybody could put a piece of leather together. So like, fuck it. I'll just leave it behind. I'll spend time with my family. Conversely, you could also do the thing that, oh no, Clint's kind of like addicted to it. He wants to be a part of it. He doesn't feel comfortable at home. He doesn't feel comfortable with his kids. He's like, man, I don't belong here anymore. Like, I'm a changed man. I've become a monster. I don't want to be around my family. I can't. It affects me. But neither of those things were established. Neither things were done. It's really weird. It's kind of, they wanted to do both, and both don't really combined. And let me just see the chat here real quick. Jigsaw51. Off topic, did you do a review of Halo Infinite Multiplayer? I have not yet. The reason why I haven't done a review about Halo Infinite Multiplayer is because it's a beta. I don't want to judge a game based on the beta. If you want the short version, here it goes. It's fun. I enjoyed it. It's a very smooth Halo. I like that. Had a lot of fun. I did ranked matches. Turns out I'm gold level 2. I don't know if that's good or bad, but there you go. Anyway, move on. Back to the show. So he puts the kids on the car and he's like, "Hey, don't worry, I'll be home for Christmas." So now it's officially a Christmas show, right? Because that's all you need. The deadline. You need the deadline. You gotta be home for Christmas. You can't let the kids down. Anyway, puts them in the car, leaves, goes to meet up with Kate. And so Kate's checking the news, and in the news is like, "Oh fuck, they're trying to make it seem like Jigsaw." Yeah, no problem, anytime. That's what the chat's for. Chat's, taking me off topic. Doesn't really matter. And so Kate's, she's watching the news and she's like, "Ah, shit. Since Ronin came back, people are wondering, hey, did Ronin kill Armand?" Now, that's a big fucking leap, even for the media. I'm not, even for somebody just came back to town and somebody else died. Could have been that guy. It's a big fucking leap. Big leap, but whatever. I've seen the media do worse, so fine, whatever. And so Kate's like, "Fuck, they think I killed Armand." And she wants to try to get Hawkeye involved in this thing. Like, "Hey, this mystery, who do you think did it?" Hawkeye could not give a fuck. He could not care less. He just cares about getting the suit and getting out of there. So Hawkeye's like, "All right, well, I'm going to take you somewhere else," because Hawkeye wants to leave her there. I don't know why Hawkeye's still hanging out with her, to be honest. Like, there's no real reason why he's still hanging out with her at all, whatsoever, but he's still hanging out with her. Okay. And so Kate manages to talk him into letting her go back home because her mom has a security company. It would be and if she doesn't show up at work, her mom's going to be like, "Oh my God, no, I gotta find my kid." Cause let me see. She was just a part of a build. She was just in a building that exploded and got robbed, and then they threw Molotov cocktails and set her apartment on fire, and now I can't find her. The mom should have been looking for her already. She should have been like extremely, extremely worried trying to find her kid, especially if she has a security company, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Hawkeye and Kate needed to spend that time together. They needed to be not rushed or whatever. It doesn't matter. So he drops her off. That's where we get a few explanations of why Hawkeye can't hear that well anymore. And it's mainly because he's been through a lot. Dude's been through a lot. So they have this conversation, and Hawkeye drops her off at work, and he gives his number. Now, this is a fun conversation. The interactions are pretty good. The actors in this show are pretty good. Jeremy Renner's like a little guy. Kate, and he's a good actor. Kate Bischoff, Haley Steinfeld, good actress. I remember seeing her in True Grit for the first time. I think she was like 13 years old. Good actress. She's very likable. Kate Bischoff's a likable character. And again, the things that they don't say are really good. So you got two really good actors here in this show leading it. The problem is that the writing sucks so far. So they have an enjoyable conversation, and it ends up with Clint giving her phone number in case of emergencies, and Kate being like, "No, I'm totally gonna I got your phone number, so I'm just gonna like text you or whatever." And so again, likable, fun. Kate's fun to be around. Problem is she's kind of a dumbass, or maybe that's why she's fun to be around, because she's kind of a dumbass. She arrives at work with her mom, and turns out that Tony's there. Well, I'm sorry, Tony Dalton, Jack's there, and really she doesn't offer up condolences about, "Hey, sorry about your dead uncle that I heard about on the news," and stuff like that. And they don't really reprimand her that much for like, "Hey, your building was on fire. Why didn't you contact me? I'd be worried." Like, you listen, I disappear for 15 minutes, and my mom's like, "Where the fuck are you?" Like, I don't know. It's like she knows that I'm trying to not be found. Like, I'm surprised. I'm surprised my phone's not blowing up because I haven't answered it in like an hour and 50 minutes. Like, point is, maybe my mom's a little bit overbearing, and she's not the greatest example here. But she's an only child. You think your mom would care a little bit, especially if she has a security company. You think your mom would be like, "Hey, you know what? Hey, you employee that I pay a lot of money for, find my fucking daughter." But all right. You know what? Maybe Hispanic families are just more intense than rich New York families. Who knows? Whatever. Let's move on. So they have this kind of like a fight thing, and the mom's like, "You are joining me and Jack for dinner. Jack's cooking for us. You're gonna come." And Kate's like, "Fine, I'll go, but I don't wanna." So they have this conversation where basically, honestly, this is actually funny. Jack is trying to be like, no, she's trying to assert her dominance, blah blah, and he basically lets it known that he read a book about being a stepfather, which honestly is hysterical. It's fucking hysterical in many reasons. I really don't want this to be the bad guy. Because it's an awesome red herring. You got a guy who's, has got the weird accent, and he's got the villain mustache, and he's obsessed with swords, but he's reading books about being a stepfather. That's fucking hysterical. Like it would be the ultimate red herring. You thinking, okay, that's the bad guy. And it turns out that he's actually just a nice guy, but a total weirdo. I really don't want him to be the bad guy, but unfortunately, I don't see it happening. But listen, I could be wrong. Let's just say Marvel hasn't really surprised me that much yet lately. But I really don't want him to be the bad guy. Because, man, that's just fucking funny. Yes, I'm the ultimate bad guy. Like, I just killed my uncle in cold blood and all this stuff. But I read a book about being a stepdad. Because I'm marrying a woman who has a daughter, and I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, and I'm a little eccentric, and I want to cook you dinner, and I read a book about being a stepdad. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I think that's really funny. If they play it in that direction. I don't think they're gonna play it in that direction, but whatever. It sucks. I hope. Anyway, moving on. So she agrees to go out for dinner, and so in the meantime, Hawkeye finds this New York City LARPing thing, and he goes there, and it turns out, hey, and he sees the guy wearing the Ronin suit. Now I need to point this out. Kate Bischoff was wearing that exact suit at night. She appeared on the news, and she was chased by the bro guys. They tracked her down because they got eyes all over the place, and they found her. This guy posted a video on fucking Instagram of him wearing the suit, is in the middle of New York City. So apparently, and here the guard here, that she tells us like, hey, no, this is mainly like a firefighter and cop community thing. So, if you cause trouble here, you'll get arrested. And so you're telling me that a bunch of cops who are LARPing don't recognize the suit of a guy who they suspect might be related to the murderer of some dude of a rich guy named Armand? How the fuck am I supposed to believe that? Like, they used the tiniest little bits of coincidences to make sure they found Kate. And this guy posts it online, hangs out with cops, and the cops are like, hey, we have a murder suspect out there who's wearing that exact same suit. How weird. You guys have the same tailor. It makes no fucking sense. But you know what? Maybe there's something about being too close with somebody. Maybe like, this guy and his name's Jerry. And Jerry comes in wearing a black suit, and you're like, oh man, Jerry, you're wearing a black suit. You don't really think about, that's the Ronin suit. Because you're not looking. You're like, it's just Jerry. Let's just say it's stupid, considering what you've already established on the show, that this is something that people are on the lookout for. Criminals, the bro guys. The media should be on the lookout for this suit. And who else should be on the lookout for somebody wearing this suit? Fucking cops. And you've established that this is a LARPing cop and firefighter community. How stupid of a writer can you fucking be? Anyway, let's move on. So Jeremy Renner shows up, and they basically tell him, yeah, you can't be a part of this unless you are a part. You can't walk a few steps to talk to somebody unless you're a part of this. Now, I can understand that to a point, but this chick says, I know who you are. So either you follow the rules or whatever. So she knows that this guy saved fucking New York City, or he's one of the guys who saved New York City. And they could have played it off in a way that seemed realistic, because she's just being a dick for no fucking reason whatsoever. So she could have been like, honestly, if a hero shows up and he's like, hey, can I just go talk to that guy? Like not a hero, a superhero. And you know who that superhero is. You'd be like, dude, whatever, please come in. Can I have a selfie? whatever, something. Thank you. You know what? Thank you for saving our fucking city. You saved my mom, my dad, whatever. You guys are great. Please, anything you fucking want. That's one way to go for it. That's, called being kind of polite. Like they did in the Chinese restaurant. He's apparently so recognizable that they just give him free stuff. Or the other way to do it, it's like, if you want him to follow the rules, you have to seem at least a little bit giddy about it. Not that you're a dick. It's kind of like, oh my God, I can make Hawkeye be a part. This could be the best LARPing ever because we got Hawkeye to be a part of it. So it could be kind of like, oh no, I mean, I can't let you in. Like, unless, and then you'd be like a hero to your community because like, hey, I managed to get Hawkeye to LARP with us. This is fucking crazy. So you have to seem at least a little bit pumped about the fact that she's making a superhero LARP. Total dick move, by the way, but that's a way to play it. They didn't play it out that way. They played it off like she's the security guard. Like, oh, I can't let you in. Like, she's a bouncer. You can't cross that line. No, I know who you are. Doesn't matter. You can't do it unless you're part of the community. So I get, it's just, there's fun ways to do it and there's dumb ways to do it. They did it the dumb way. Anyway, so he signs up. He agrees to the rules and he's a part of this stupid challenge. And here we get to see Hawkeye fake fight in like a very slow motion thing. And honestly, it's stupid, but it's funny because again, Jeremy Renner is not having any of it. Like, he's just like beyond done with it. And it's funny. It's a funny situation that's dumb as fuck. It doesn't seem like something that Hawkeye would ever do. It doesn't seem realistic at all whatsoever, but fine. It was fine. They made it look like, oh, this really cool slow motion fight, whatever. Honestly, if they would have made him be a little bit into it, could have been a little bit better, but I don't know. Or let's just say, wasn't played right. I didn't feel like they played it right, but it was well acted, so whatever. He finally makes it up to this dude who has the suit, and he's basically like, dude, give me the suit voluntarily, or I can kick your ass and take the suit from you. And the other guy's like, all right, listen, let me just kill you in a duel, and I'll give you the suit. And Jeremy Renner's like, fine, whatever, I don't give a fuck. I just want to be done with this shit. So again, Jeremy Renner is going through a lot of trouble just to get this stupid suit back, who apparently people can confuse for something else. And by the way, this dude is like a big dude, all right? So the suit fitting him, fitting Clint Barton, and fitting Kate Bishop, that's amazing material, guys. And I thought it was like leather, and leather doesn't really stretch that much, but whatever. Moving on. So Clint's like, all right, fine, I'll let you kill me. In the meantime, Kate's trying to be besties with Clint. She keeps calling him, she keeps texting him. Then she gets called by the cops. And she's like, oh, what? I didn't do anything. And the cops are like, oh, we want to talk to you about, your apartment being set on fire. And she's like, oh yeah, I'll talk about that with you guys tomorrow. So she's freaking out because she's got to go with the cops. So she leaves Clint a voice message, and then she sees Jack leaving, and she's like, I gotta follow this guy. So again, this brings us back to the duel. Jeremy Renner, they have this fight, and basically, Clint Barton allows himself to be killed by this guy whose name I don't remember. And so everybody's like, yeah, you killed him, whatever. And so he's like, no, he's the dude who killed Hawkeye, blah, blah, blah. And he agreed, and he gives the costume back. So Jeremy Renner takes the costumes, walks away. And, it's here you see that Clint Barton's actually kind of a nice guy. He's like, hey, could you return this for me? Call me Clint, whatever. And the other guy's super excited, like, oh my God, I can call Hawkeye Clint, stuff like that. And again, Clint Barton, you could tell that he's a cool dude. It's a big contrast with how we last saw him in Endgame, because in Endgame he's kind of like a total asshole. Because again, he went really, really off the deep end, So maybe it's a sign that he's healing. He's with his family again. He's trying to be nice. He's trying to be cool. He's trying to make people think that he's not a total asshole, or maybe he's just not acting like a total asshole. But yeah, you see him being a nice guy there. Maybe this guy shows up again. He seemed like a likable. He just seemed like a big geek. Like, oh man, he's a criminal, by the way, because he stole a costume. he stole property from somebody else in somebody's apartment. So honestly, like, Clint should have called him out on it. But I guess, you know what? He's not a cop or whatever, so he doesn't really care. Anyway, so Clint leaves. then he locks up the costume for some reason, and Linda Cardellini is like, you're not gonna come back yet. He has a conversation with the wife, and here basically Jeremy Renner says like, yeah, don't worry, I'll be back for Christmas, but I still have some stuff I have to do. What stuff does he have to do exactly is not 100% clear to me. I never understood why he cared so much about the costume. I guess you could stretch out the logic of why he really cares about the costume. It's kind of stupid and complicated, but you could find a logic to like, all right, now this is my responsibility, and now it's causing trouble for the people, and so I have to deal with it. I could kind of see it, but there's nothing really else tying him to it. So honestly, I'd be like, fuck it, I'm gonna be with my family, because I haven't seen him in 5 years. But whatever, I could see it. It's crazy. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I could see it. Why is he still staying in New York at this point? The only thing that I can think of is that he read or he saw the text from Kate, or he heard a voice message, and he's like, all right, she's getting in trouble with the cops. I gotta help her. Fine. That's the only other thing. But why he cares about Kate, I don't know. I'd be like, that's a rich girl. Her mom has a security company. I'm sure she could hire a lawyer. She should be fine. The only other reason, maybe it's because I got to deal with the bro guys, because the bro guys, they want to kill Kate. But again, Kate's mom has a security company. She should be fine. If she just went home and be like, hey mom, there's a bunch of dudes trying to kill me. I need security. Do you know we can get it? She'd be like, what a coincidence. That's what I do for a living. But all right, well, you know what? Whatever. Doesn't matter. They had to find a way to keep Clinton, New York City. Let's move on. So he decides. Then we get to see the dinner here between Kate, Jack, and Kate's mom, whose name I should probably learn, but to me it's Vera Farmiga. Anyway, so they're having this conversation, and this leads to fencing because Jack's into swords, and Kate's like, hey, how about if we have like a little match? And Jack's like, sure, that sounds like fun. I like swords. And so they decide to have this little duel with swords, right? And so they're having this. So Jack excitedly goes and gets his gear, and they have this little fencing match. And Kate beats him, and she's like, "Stop letting me win." And Jack's like, "Oh no, you're better than me." And she gets another point, and Jack's like, "No, you were better than me. I'm sorry." So she when the match is done, Kate kind of like lunges at his face, and he blocks it in a really cool way, ends up disarming her. So we can tell this dude knows how to fight. And so here, Kate's like, I knew it. I knew you were a liar. And Jack's just like, all right, I admit that I was hiding my level of skill, blah, 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 but you were also like a champion. So it's one of those things that you're like, man, they're trying to really set this guy as the villain. Like, oh, he's really highly skilled and he's a bad guy. So I think it'd be hysterical if he's not the bad guy. Like, again, let's add things up. Dude read a book about being a stepdad. He's trying to bond with her over a shared interest, you know? Like, you like swords, I like swords. Let's bond over that. He's trying to let her win because he's like, oh man, if she feels like there's that I beat her up, then she could maybe hate me something. I'll let her win and stuff. So, and he's also being really cool about the fact that she just tried to stab him in the face. So it's one of those things. You're like, I don't want him to be the bad guy. It would be hysterical if he's not, but you never know. Again, they're trying really hard to set it up. So then Kate's like, no, this guy's a liar. You can't trust him, blah, blah, blah. Jack comes in. Vera's like, you're crazy. You almost stabbed the guy in the face. You destroyed a clock tower. Your apartment got burned up. What the fuck's wrong with you? And Kate's like, how dare you say that to me? And so they're having this fight. Jack walks in. He's like, I kind of want to be a part of this because I'm a part of the family. And he offers Kate some candy. Now, you guys can probably see it here. So he offers her a piece of butterscotch candy that's wrapped in a kind of like aluminum foil. It looks like aluminum foil, and it has the name Armand the Third on it. And so Kate's like, this guy has been in Armand's apartment. And so she gets really freaked out and is like, oh, I have something tying this guy to the scene of the crime. So Armand got killed by a sword, and there was candy in there with his name on it. And now I have something that ties him to the scene of the crime. So she's got to get out of there, leaving her mother with who she assumes is a killer, which is, all right, fuck mom, whatever. And listen, Kate's a bit of a dumbass because I could immediately find like 100 excuses for these. Well, first off, no, let's say 100 excuses for it. Like, oh, why'd you get that candy? You were at that guy's house. Like, yeah, he's my uncle. He has monogrammed candy and he likes giving it to people. I have it. I like butterscotch. Next question. So, like, oh yeah, my uncle got killed. I went to see my aunt. I went to his house and I grabbed some butterscotch candy. Or he has it at his office too. Like he likes butterscotch and he like that. It's such a wild little thing. And here again, we're going back to the forced writing. This is why they took time out of episode 1 to show you that like it's a very recognizable candy. All right, it's not just that he has butterscotch. It's butterscotch with his name on it. You know, a sticker that says Armand the Third, and that's why they pointed that little eccentricity in there. And you're like, man, you are really trying to force this one, aren't you? You're just bad writers who are really, really trying to force something that doesn't really make much sense to be forced. But all right, I mean, these people get paid a lot of money to write really crappy stuff. It just annoys me. It honestly, it's a waste of money. This is just terrible because you got great talent, you got good effects, and you're wasting it on a piece of shit story that's strung together by the dumbest, smallest pieces of crap coincidences I've seen in a very long time, and they're ignoring bigger stuff. But whatever, it's not my money, so who gives a fuck? Anyway, so she leaves her mom there with what she suspects to be a killer, although most likely he's just the nephew who went to an uncle's house and grabbed a piece of candy. Now, here's the funny thing. Here's the interesting thing. Again, this could all just be a coincidence, and it turns out that he's not the bad guy. He just really looks like the bad guy because he's the dumbass who just went to his uncle's house and grabbed some candy. He's like, hey, maybe you want some candy. It's like, I'm being the good stepfather. Here, have some candy. Or it could be that this is like the sinister guy who's kind of like throwing it in her face. Oh, yeah, here you go. Here's evidence that I'm in the scene of the crime. I want you to know. So either way, it works out, I guess, in that sense. But from the other perspective is just stupid. Storytelling perspective is just really stupid. It's really, really, really stupid. Anyway, moving on. So, Clint Barton has decided to let himself be captured by the bro guys. They have a name. I don't remember it. It's just a stupid gang. But he decides to get captured. How or why they decided to capture him, I don't know. Like, why would you capture Hawkeye? They don't know that Hawkeye is Ronin. Well, they don't know that Clint's Ronin, but he decides to let himself be captured for reasons. How? I don't understand. If you're a gang of guys, would you kidnap a celebrity? Like a superhero celebrity who saved your town? Would you go after that guy? Again, no weapons. This is stupid, but whatever. So they kidnap Clint because it's part of Clint's plan. Like, all right, just take him to your boss. And he wants to talk to the boss. In the meantime, Kate's trying to find Clint, and he calls Clint, and the dumbass criminal guys pick up the phone, and they're like, Clint can't answer right now, or he's busy. And so Kate's like, oh no, I gotta go help Clint. Now, listen, I'm not giving advice to kidnappers here at all. I'm just saying that if you ever end up in a situation where you kidnap somebody, or, you have somebody, tied up, you don't answer their fucking phone. Yeah, in fact, you should just leave the phone because they can trace that. Unless, if here you're going, let's say 4D chess, you want them to know. You want Kate specifically to know, because I'm assuming you want Kate. Clint's phone's got caller ID, and in the caller ID they could see Kate Bischoff, and so they'd be like, Kate's calling. Let's let her know so she comes to us. Maybe this is 4D chess shit, and they were laying a trap for Kate. Although the fact that they ask where Kate is afterwards kind of like negates that particular theory, but whatever, doesn't matter. So the point is, Kate's like, oh no, I gotta find him. So she uses her mom's security company to track Clint Barton's phone. Now, one would assume that Clint Barton, former Avenger, expert Black Ops guy, spy, would have an untraceable phone. Guess not. Whoops. A dude who has a ton of enemies doesn't have like a security phone. Whatever, doesn't matter. Untraceable phone, doesn't matter. So she's like, I gotta go help him. So Clint Barton, he's being interrogated by guys, and they're like, hey, dude, this guy, bro, wait, where's Kate Bishop, bro? Tell me where she is, bro. And Clint Barton's like, hey, can you just take me to your boss? Like, I'd rather just speak with a higher up, like the manager of the whole situation so that I could clear everything up with Kate, blah, blah. And like, no, bro, fuck you, bro. And so Clint just, releases his hands. And here something interesting happens. So he shows him like, hey, yeah, I'm not really tied up. I'm like, I could leave whenever I want. And they point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guns at him. 5. So these guys had guns on them the whole time. So you don't have guns when you're going to fight Ronin, a known criminal killer on the streets. But you have guns when you're interrogating somebody who's tied up. Now, it could be that they learned their lesson. These criminals are not as stupid as they look. They learned the lesson after getting their asses kicked the first few times. And so like, hey, we need to start packing heat. Or it could be they had the guns on them the whole time because we did see them rob a place and they had guns. And they just decided that they're dumbasses and they're not going to use it. Now, based on the fact that it would be extremely convenient for the writers for them not to use the guns, I'm going to go with the fact that they're just dumbasses. And that the writers are also equally as big of a dumbasses for writing things this way. Because it's fucking stupid. And they just wanted to force a situation where they didn't have any guns. Because they wanted to choreograph the other... fuck it. Yeah, honestly, this is just fucking stupid. Moving on. As Clint's trying to, talk them out of it, Kate Bishop literally drops from the roof. Listen, I don't know what the roof's made of or what this old building is, but she ends up falling from the roof and they just point the guns at her. And Clint's like, fuck. So they tie him up again. And now this time Clint's like, all right, well, can we speak to the manager? And here we see the manager who's, I don't know, is blaring music for some reason. This chick who's apparently like the leader. He's like, hey, yeah, bro. Now, I guess they're trying to send a message that the bro guys, the guys say bro to everything. And it's like basically like a bunch of bros are being led by somebody who's very stoic and also a woman. Because, it's like, oh, the bros are out there. And so it's kind of like maybe like a queen bee thing. So, like the male soldiers and the queen bee. I don't know. We'll see. But this is basically where the episode ends. You get to see the head of the bro guys. I don't remember her name, but you get to see her, and that's where the episode ends. So that's Hawkeye episodes 1 and 2 from beginning to end. Overall, like I said, the most important things that I can tell you about this show, it's not a show for grown-ups. It was never intended to be a show for grown-ups. It's meant to be for kids, and not only for kids, for dumb kids. Because the writing is just fucking atrocious. It's disgustingly bad. It's tied together by the most ridiculous coincidences. And you know what? You know what the worst part is? It's not even that interesting. I watched this show with somebody and she was extremely confused. Honestly, she needed to see the recap of episode 1 before we saw episode 2, and both came out at the same time. So we just saw episode 1 and she needed to see the recap from episode 1 because it's like, I don't understand what's happening here exactly. Like, she just didn't. And a lot of it has to do with, I think they never exactly set up that Jack and Armand were related. I don't remember it being mentioned. Or at least I missed it because, again, the guy had like a very bizarre accent. So the show has great acting. The effects are fine. The Chitauri invasion, all that stuff, it looks cool. It's really, really well acted, but it's disgustingly written. It's stupid. They try to make it for little kids. Little kids, I get it. It's the market for superhero shit and all that stuff, but the fans are grown-ups too. The guys who actually read Hawkeye comics, or the girls too, they're grown up. You need to make shows for grown-ups. It would be way better. It would be 100 times better because your heroes don't look like fucking dumbasses. The villains don't look like fucking dumbasses because you're actually making them serious fucking characters. And you know what? Kids will appreciate it too. Like, maybe not make it as violent, but whatever. The point is, the show is, in a word, disappointing. I expect a little bit more. I hope that they would use Clint Barton a little bit better. I hope that they would use their great cast better, but they didn't. It's just horribly written. I don't know what the fuck's happening with Marvel. The writers fucking suck. They're disgustingly bad. They're terrible. It's embarrassing at this point. It's actually kind of funny, but it's embarrassing. So that's it. I'll continue next Monday probably with episode 3. Honestly, because I enjoy ripping things. It's fun. Because you know what people complain about me a lot? I had somebody be like, hey, I disagree with everything you just said. Like, all right, I used examples. What's yours? Like, I go through it point by point. Where was I wrong? Like, I don't know where you're wrong, but I disagree. Like, all right, fine, whatever. Doesn't matter. I enjoy doing it. It's actually a lot of fun. It actually makes me feel better after watching something bad. It's like, you know what? I got it out of my system. So I'll continue doing it probably. It's probably going to be my new Monday thing. Next Monday, by the way, again, I'm going to be out of town. So any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Super Dario World on YouTube and on Twitch. Live streaming at 10 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Next week, Friday I'm out of town. Monday I'm out of town, so it's probably going to be pre-recorded. But if you want to see my stories and all that stuff on Instagram, you can do that at DarioCW and at Super Dario World. As always, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.